Hey everybody, come travel home with me. I don't care about all you naysayers who say that this is dangerous. I hope you never ever talk to your passengers or listen to the radio. So a lot of people don't take into account how effective time and generations are to brainwashing, and not only how effective but how necessary they are. And reasons being is, think about 2020 or 2019. Think about the Rona era. There were a bunch of kids just coming up in the world. They were young, like 2, 3. My son was 2. There were a bunch of like 4-year-olds in my neighborhood, and they're extremely formative years where they learn what the world looks like on a basic level. Those were filled with people wearing masks, people freaking out about stuff. And it was like sandpaper had been taken to everybody's psyche and emotional strength, and just frayed. I would argue that people didn't come back. But if you can make one generation, if you can make one generation, a half a generation of people believe something, it changes forever. Because by that time, it's just the norm. And that's how it is. Evolution, physically, I don't believe is real. But evolution as far as thinking, absolutely happens, and it is guided with such a tender hand that most don't even realize that the hand is there. You know, ever since television became a thing, it's just been a mainline influence into people's thought processes. And it's gotten to the point where people have completely divided themselves into just about every duality that they can find. Left versus right, Muslim versus Jew, Christian versus everybody else. I mean, you name it. Anti-vaxxer versus vaxxer. People can't come back from that. It's impossible, because they don't want to come back from that. First of all, they see everybody as an opponent. They see everybody as their enemy. And you can't find common grounds with somebody. And they see the important thing is that they see their enemies as lesser. That is the problem. In times past, at least from what I've seen, there used to be civil discourse. But now, because what happened in 2020, everybody sees who they consider their opponent to be lesser than. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal, because you can never learn from that. You can't grow, because if you see half of the people around you as lesser than, and I'm guilty of this too, man. Everybody's dumb. I can't tell you how many times a day I say everybody's so stupid, because a lot of people are stupid for this reason that I'm describing. It's not because they're incapable of thinking. It's because they have cured their elasticity into essentially rock hard dogma, and there's no coming back from that. The only solution to that is like a spacer generation. And that's the essence of a reset, isn't it? That's the essence of a reset, the great reset. Because you need children to be born to parents who take things back to the basics. Let's grow our own food. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's police our own morals. Because it's possible. In fact, the more police I see and the more laws that happen, the more immoral people become. I'll tell you something really bad that I did when I was younger. And I'll tell you why. It's taken me a long time to realize why. So, when I was 17, I might have been 18. Yeah, I was 18 because I got tried as an adult. And I want to preempt this by saying I deserved what I got. I probably deserved worse, but I learned from it, and that's the essence of correction. So anyway, I did this really good job at an Ace Hardware in Illinois, and I had this girlfriend who didn't like me smoking weed, and in order to I liked smoking weed, I still do. In order to do so, I had to get money because she collected all my checks, I had to get money that she didn't notice. And so what I did was I stole from work. I stole money, and I shouldn't have done that. It was repugnant to everything that I believe in. But here's the essence of why. And it was my fault, but here's the faulty thought process that led to such a repugnant action. Growing up over the last few years, since I had been like 15 or 16, I got absolutely tormented, harassed, and essentially tortured by the police in my hometown for victimless crimes that aren't crimes. They're money-making opportunities for the state and a way to keep permanent customers. Probation is a scam. And so after being arrested and tortured so many times for nothing. I didn't hurt a single person. I didn't harm anybody's property. I didn't do anything wrong, anything immoral. After being persecuted for that so long, I lost sight on right and wrong, because what I was doing felt not wrong. So essentially what I did was I associated law with immoral. I twisted my thinking to justify basically anything that was against the law. And that was wrong. That was absolutely wrong of me. But my mind was pushed into it. And it was guided with that velvet glove. And it was a really hard lesson for me to learn, and hard to realize where my fault came in and where I had to stop blaming, the state. But I parsed it out eventually. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so everybody has been so conditioned by television, by these petty laws that don't mean anything, that they've become immoral, haven't they? How many people just go and shoplift now because it's impossible to get ahead in life? It's impossible. And part of the reason it's impossible, a big part of the reason it's impossible, is that there's a permanent record. You can't live anything down. Since the age of 18, I have been a felon. And it's hard not to sink into that thought process. It's hard not to own that label. I've stopped owning that label because I've started living by morality rather than legality. But shouldn't that label, shouldn't whatever label I have reflect who I currently am? And that's a pretty extreme example, because as I said, I deserved what I got. But there's other things like the charges for weed that I got that made it impossible for me to find work in Illinois in the early 2000s. I didn't deserve. I didn't deserve that. And there's a lot of other people that have charges that they didn't deserve either. Whether it's driving without a license, that's bullshit. Blowing a stop, any traffic law that is absent a victim is bullshit. It's not real. Because think about it. Who's the victim? There's no victim. The state claims victimhood. Go back to my last video about restitution from getting shot at. Who got the restitution? We outsource victimhood to the state. And I recommend everybody watch Jones Plantation or read the book. It's a book and it's a movie by not Axl Rose, the guy that looks like his brother, somebody else Rose. Why can't I remember him, man? That's crazy. And check my subscriptions, because I subscribe to him. He's an anarchist, and people have been so conditioned to think that anarchy means disorder, just like conspiracy means theory. If I challenge you, go to Reddit right now and look at how many posts misuse the word conspiracy. So many people say it's not a conspiracy anymore, it's fact. What the fuck does that even mean? That's not even a coherent statement. That's another thing I wanted to touch on. People's ability to communicate is being diminished, isn't it? Look at how incrementally over the course of a generation they took away cursive, they took away books, they've taken away so many aspects. I mean, they've really taken away grammar. And I think it's 40% of adults right now are functionally illiterate. And mind you, these are the same people who grew up hearing about the Dark Ages, the Dark Age bullshit, if you look into that, where everybody was illiterate. I know that because I grew up. And here's the thing, I failed school. I failed miserably. Ever since 5th grade, I have failed school. Not because I didn't know the information, but because I couldn't be bothered to participate. And I eventually left school. I got my diploma at 17, maybe 18. I don't know. Either way, it was New Mexico. That's when I went to that ranch. But the people that are functionally illiterate are people that have completed high school. Some have completed college. How is that possible? I did drugs, nothing but drugs, for a good decade of my life. I've done nothing meaningful as far as society, but I can write. I know plenty of words, and I know advanced concepts about things. I can do basic maths. What am I, British? Maybe I am. I don't know. No, I'm not. But what has happened to people is just, it is lobotomizing. It's people have been lobotomized, and it's happened through a screen. It's happened because they have been programmed by what is blatantly called programming. We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming. I mean, come on. And now the people that are so old that they can't really grasp new concepts, yet still control most of the thought economy of the country and of society at large. You know, my parents' generation and the older Gen X, they can't see it because that's what they... Poor puppy. That's what they grew up in. You know, a fish doesn't see the water. You don't see the air. So what does it take? It takes parents. Our generation's fucked. It's a lost cause. But you know what? It takes a generation of parents who are willing to draw a hard line and say the state is wrong. The state is wrong about what they teach, about how they teach, about their priorities, and about everything. And raise children how we know that we should. That I know in my heart what's right. I have to believe that you do too. And I know how to teach that to my kids. And I'm smart enough to teach them most things that schools teach. I can teach them more than what schools teach. I mean, the people that are teachers are revered at such a high level, but they don't really deserve it. They don't do much. They teach out of approved books. And they just parrot out of approved books and take away children's time to learn about the world. Being taught about the world is so far inferior to learning about the world. When you're taught about the world, you inherit somebody else's perspective, not even somebody else's perspective, but the perspective that somebody else wants you to have. And yet I am mocked and derided. Check out my last video. I don't know if that whatever gamer person deleted all of his comments. Look at how I get called crazy for thinking this way. And that's fine. I know that I'm not. I know that what's happened is most people have become essentially agents of the state. They're Agent Smiths. And that was perfectly described in The Matrix. Anybody who hasn't been woken up from The Matrix has the potentiality to be an agent. Because they're programs. They're programmed. This is a simulation, and we are the computers. We are the nodes. And we form the simulation. And when people honestly believe the world is a certain way, which it objectively isn't, to them it objectively is that way. And then if enough of them can be made to believe that it is that way, then so it is. Because, I mean, the only way to prove that it is a certain way is by getting others to believe. But if they're so deluded that they can't even see evidence and they can't even see the color blue as the color blue, then you can't make them believe it. You can't make a blind person understand the color blue. You cannot do it. You can't make a deaf person understand what makes music so emotionally pure. You can't do it. And that's the problem with trying to wake people up. They no longer possess the sense, the frame of reference to understand. And so we need to we need to let that wilt out of society, so to speak. And it will. It's sad. It will, though, it just takes time. But we need to stand firm and stand fast. And steadfast, I mean. And not repeat that. We can't fall victim to the same comforts, manipulation of comfort that our parents did. And that kind of sums up my last couple of videos. It needs to be something, we need to live in a way that that holds truth and true freedom over comfort. People have, again, been conditioned to associate comfort with freedom. Man, freedom can be comfortable, because I think that relaxing by a fire and then after eating and then going to sleep like a foot away, I think that's really comfortable. But people have fallen victim to creature comforts, like heated seats. You can't even let your car warm up. Remote start, all of this stuff. People will forever be bought out by their lust for creature comforts. And the way to reset that is to raise a generation of children to find freedom to be comfortable and see that slavery is inherently uncomfortable, no matter how used to it a generation has been conditioned to be. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.